Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I'm so excited and happy you're here because today I wanted to share with you my favorite 7 desserts from 2024. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I am so excited to show you this wonderful recipe. It is just absolutely scrumptious. These cookies are the best cookies I think I've ever had. So in this bowl, I have 1/2 a cup of softened butter, 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree, 1 egg, and we're going to add in 1½ cups of sugar. We'll get all of this mixed up together. Now that we have all of our wet ingredients mixed up with the sugar, we're going to start adding the rest of our ingredients. I have a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I have 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and we're going to gradually add in 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Let's get mixing. Now that we have our dough all mixed up, it's time to go on to the next step. The next thing we're going to do is take this bowl, and I have 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I'm just going to mix this around with a fork and get it all stirred up. I have a tray here lined with parchment paper, and I'm just going to use this scoop. And I'm going to just start scooping in and getting out balls of the cookie dough. With good clean hands, just roll it around a little bit and then toss it in the sugar cinnamon mixture. A fork is the best thing to use for this because that way you can pick up the extra and shake it off. And then just go ahead and put it on the tray. Our oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Now we'll put our cookies in for 10 to 12 minutes. These beautiful cookies turned out so soft and tender. They're nice and soft and chewy. Absolutely delicious. I'm going to be using this little bundt cake for my special coffee cake recipe. I'm going to take some melted butter and I'm just going to brush the inside of this pan. This will really help with keeping the cake from sticking, and the pan will also clean up so much easier. It'll wash right out after I've baked my special little coffee cake. Our pan is all buttered and ready to go. I have my oven preheating to 375 and I'm going to get busy putting this recipe together. First, I'm going to start working on the cake recipe. I have 1 egg, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and I have 2 cups of Bisquick. Our cake mix is all mixed and ready to go. I'm going to set it aside and get busy on our streusel topping. For the streusel topping, I have 1/2 cup of salted butter. I have 2/3 cup of packed brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then, of course, we'll need our Bisquick. This is 2/3 cup of the Bisquick mix. I'll just pour this in, and the very best way to mix this is just with a fork or 2. This is going to be a crumble topping. Now this topping generally goes on top. That's where it usually goes. However, I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to put down some cake in the pan, and then I'm going to add some of this wonderful topping to the cake. I'm going to put more cake on top, and then I'll put more streusel topping. I'll layer it so that way we'll have some wonderful topping inside the cake. I have my pan all ready to go, and now I'm just going to take the cake mix and I'm just going to start putting some down in the bottom. Just spread it around so that it's nice and even. It's okay if it gets up on the sides because we're going to put another layer on top of all of this. Once you get a nice little layer in the bottom, then just take some of your mix and start spreading it right around. Try to get a nice even layer right on top of the cake. You can just break it up and crumble it in. Make sure you save plenty to put on the top. I'm just going to spoon it right over so that way I don't disturb the streusel filling and move it all around. I'm using a small spatula because it is so much easier to get in here and just smooth this coffee cake right out in the pan. Just go right around like this. And now that we have our cake smoothed out, just go ahead and start taking your streusel topping and just crumbling it right on top the cake. Now we'll take our wonderful little coffee cake to the oven. We'll bake it at 375 for 15 to 19 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. I'm going to let my cake cool in the pan before I remove it. Here's how this wonderful little beautiful Bisquick bundt cake coffee cake turned out. For this chocolate cake recipe, I'm going to be using a small bundt pan. I've melted some butter and I'm just going to take a little silicone brush and paint the inside of this little bundt cake pan. I found this is the best way to keep anything from sticking to the inside of the bundt cake pan. And it cleans up very easily after it's used. For this Weight Watcher cake recipe, I'm going to use a chocolate cake mix and 2 Greek yogurts, non-fat plain, and a cup of water. Okay, I have the 2 containers of Greek yogurt, and now I'll pour in the 1 cup of water. Now we'll pour in the cake mix. Now just take a whisk and just start whisking it all together. It has plenty of liquid, so it mixes up really nicely. Once it gets too thick to whisk with the whisk, just take a rubber spatula and stir it all around and make sure you have all of the clumps out and any powder up off the bottom. I have the little bundt pan here and I'm just going to start pushing some in all around. We don't want to fill this more than half full because we don't want it to start overflowing. If you have extra cake mix, you can put it in some muffin cups or in a loaf pan or just a little small round cake pan. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to get this to the oven at 350. We're going to bake our cake for about 25 to 30 minutes. And here's how the beautiful little chocolate cake turned out. I have a little more than a cup of pecans and I'm going to get these in the food processor. One of the quickest and most efficient ways to make a pecan pie is to just grab a store-bought pie crust. So I'll just take this edge and turn it under just the way it naturally wants to go. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees. In this mixing bowl, I'm going to add 3 eggs. Now we'll add our Karo syrup. If you spray your mixing cup with cooking spray ahead of time, everything will pour out easily without sticking. All right, let's add in our vanilla and our sugar, and we're going to add in our melted butter. We'll just give this a real quick mix and then it'll already be time to add in our pecans. And now's the time to pour the filling right into our pie crust. I've also put my pie crust on a baking sheet. This way, if anything bubbles up or boils over, we don't want it to drip down and burn in the bottom of the oven. We'll put our pie in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes. It looks wonderful. As you can see, the pecans look a little toasty and the crust has a beautiful golden brown. It still has a slight jiggle to it, but we'll leave it set to cool completely. We are ready to make our peanut butter pie. In this big bowl, I have an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. I have my hand mixer. You can use a stand mixer, anything you want. And I have a cup of creamy peanut butter, 1 cup of powdered sugar, or also known as confectioner sugar, and I'm going to put all 3 of these in the bowl and get it mixed up. The block of cream cheese is at room temperature. Okay, now that these are mixed up, we're going to get our Cool Whip and we're going to fold it in. Okay, I have my Cool Whip here. This is an 8-ounce container. Our filling is all mixed up. As you can see, it's a nice golden brown with no streaks of peanut butter or cream cheese showing. Now that our filling is already done and ready to go, we're going to pour it right into the pie and start carefully pressing it to the edges. Now it's time to top our wonderful pie. To start off with, I have some little miniature Reese's cups. I'll open these and chop some of them. And I have some white chocolate chips and dark chocolate chips. Now for the peanut butter cups. And if that wasn't enough peanut butter, I've melted about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of peanut butter in the microwave. I'm going to stir it up. I put it in for about 18 seconds. And as you can see, it's nice and melted. I'm going to take this and just start drizzling this right over the top of the pie. And this is completely optional. And here's our wonderful peanut butter pie. It is ready to chill in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. Let's get started putting our pie together. Next, I'm going to take my big fork and I'm just going to start putting holes all around in the bottom of the crust. This is called docking. This keeps the crust to lay down flat, lets the air out so it doesn't poof up. Now I'm going to get this to the oven and I'm going to bake this on 450 for about 11 to 12 minutes. Oven is at 450. While our pie crust is in the oven, we're going to take our coconut flakes and get these toasted. I have 1/3 cup of sweetened coconut flakes. I'm just going to put these in the skillet on medium high and I'm just going to toast them around until they're golden brown. Now I'm going to remove my coconut from the heat and I'm going to put it on a little plate so that it can cool. Our pie crust just came out of the oven. We'll let it sit until it cools. Now let's get busy putting our pie together. I'm going to put in 2 packages. These are 3.4 ounce packages of coconut pudding. You could also use vanilla pudding if you can't find the coconut. And I'm going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of coconut extract. I'm also going to put in 2 cups of cold milk. This is whole milk. I'm going to put my mixer on and mix this for about 2 minutes. I'm just going to put it on low. You could also use a hand whisk. Now that we have our pudding mix already done, let me show you. It should be nice and thick, just like this. The next thing we're going to do is add 1/2 container. This is an 8-ounce container of extra creamy Cool Whip. I'll just cut it right down the middle and lift half of this out and drop it right in. Then all we have to do is just start folding this. It's all mixed up and now it's time to put it into our pie crust. Now just smooth it right out to the edges of the pie. The next step is just to take the other half of the Cool Whip, the extra creamy Cool Whip, and we're just going to put this right on top of the pie. Then we're going to smooth it right out and make a nice layer on top of the pie. Just sprinkle the coconut right on. And there we have it. Our coconut cream pie is ready to go to the refrigerator. We'll want to chill this pie in the refrigerator for at least 6 hours. Let's get started putting these wonderful candied pecans together. I have a bowl here and I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I also have some salt, 1 teaspoon. I have a tablespoon of cinnamon and 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. That seems like an unusual ingredient, but it really adds a lot to this recipe. Now we're just going to take a whisk and mix all of these ingredients together. Now that this is mixed together, we're going to just set this aside, and I have another bowl here with 3 egg whites. My oven is preheating to 350. I'm going to take a big whisk and beat these up until they're nice and frothy. It just took a few seconds to beat these egg whites up until they were frothy. And here I have 4 cups of pecans. All we need to do is just take the pecans and toss all of the pecans until they're nicely coated with the egg whites. So now that all of our pecans are coated with the egg whites, I'm going to take our dry ingredients. I have them right here. And I'm going to go ahead and just pour these right in. This recipe only takes minutes to put together. All right, once we pour our dry ingredients on top, just take your big spatula and fold them right in. Just turn them nice and gently until all of the pecans are coated. Okay, now that these are all coated successfully in the wonderful topping, we're going to put these on a parchment lined tray and bake them in the oven. We're going to pour our pecans right onto this tray lined with parchment paper. Carefully spread them out into a single layer. And into the oven at 350 for about 30 to 40 minutes. It has been 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes we want to take our pecans out and just lightly toss them. And then we'll put them back in the oven for another 15 to 20 minutes. Once you get them turned over, make sure you spread them back out into a single layer. Now back to the oven to finish baking. The candied pecans just came out of the oven for the second time after another 15 minutes. And now I'm just going to lightly toss them and stir them around and put them back in a single layer so that they can cool. Here's how the pecans turned out. You can find all of these full videos on my YouTube channel with the recipes included. Just hit the more button on each video for the recipe. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.